Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening from wherever you're listening or watching. This is Luke, one half of Mind Over Mortar, and in this episode, Matt and I get into something a lot of people experience but don't actually talk about openly: failure, bad decisions, and the chaos that comes with ADHD and similar conditions. We talk about how ADHD can make us overcomplicate things, fall into procrastination cycles, and sometimes burn ourselves out by trying to do too much at once. But we also explore the other side of it, how things like ADHD, Tourette's, ADD, and even OCD traits can become superpowers when you learn how to work with them instead of against them. We also talk about routines, bad days, fear of falling behind, and how all this ties into business, productivity, and being kinder to yourself when things don't go to plan. So, with that said, let's get into the episode.
The smart failure. So my understanding is that people with ADHD, and I experience this as well, we like to overcomplicate things. So I want to talk about routines and how basic things get overcomplicated by the overthinking, and that can lead to procrastination as well. Have you got an example of that?
I do, definitely. I'll give you an example that's probably quite relatable. Not necessarily to do with business, but it can be related to that as well. But let's hypothetically say that I need to clean my house. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what typically will happen is I'll basically give myself a game plan. So I'll walk around the house and I'll assess every room like a battleground. Yeah. And I'll work out what needs to be done. What's the important things, what prioritise these things, and and an idea, right, of what I'm going to be doing as far as a clean's concerned and how far I'm going to go. Now, this is where like the ADHD sort of side of things really kicks in, because I won't be able to retain that information properly. So I get this really good sort of game plan and I'm like, right, I'm ready to go to war. And then I'll start cleaning and I'll start in the bedroom, for example, yeah? So I'll strip the bed and I know the bedding needs to go downstairs to go into the washing machine. But on the way downstairs to the washing machine, I noticed that there's some stuff on the stairs. So I pick that stuff up while I'm holding the washing as well. And then I'll move into the kitchen. I'll put the bedding into the washing machine and I've got this stuff in my hand. Now I'm like, oh, well, this needs to go back upstairs. So I put that on the side, yeah, until I go back upstairs again. And then I need to go back upstairs regardless, but now I've just spotted that there's some stuff on the table that needs clearing, maybe from breakfast or something. So then I'll go over there because I'm in the kitchen anyway, so I might as well go and get that stuff. I'll take it into the kitchen, but now I'm there, I might as well wash it up. So what I find is that I will just constantly be flopping and flipping between sort of tasks. So my structured sort of game plan just goes completely out of the window. And I end up not completing any task from start to finish. I end up starting every task and not finishing them.
That was exhausting to listen to.
Yeah, sorry.
And that's how my brain runs too. Can you tell me what the first task that you were trying to achieve was after all that?
It was washing the bedding, wasn't it? Yeah, washing the bedding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, isn't it? I was just about to pull that analogy up as well myself, because it's exhausting, isn't it? And you go in there and you're on top of the world as well. You're like focused and you've got a task at hand, and it's a great feeling as well. And then you go flat out. You're like running around and you're getting it all done, and you're like, wow, that only took 20 minutes as well. And then it applies so much to business as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it links in with the up and down cycle that I often go on about as well, where when I'm in that state of mind, it's a new task. Got to clean the bed. You've got a new property lead come up, for example, and you're trying to fill up your pipeline. You're like, great, let's go and do it. Let's go and view the property. Let's go and get in touch with the landlords. We'll find our investors. And you then lose control because other things get in the way, don't they?
They do.
And quickly, when you're starting to focus on that task, other tasks come in. And you go, oh, yeah, there's another lead. I'll go and look at that property. And then or another opportunity pops up, and it completely distracts you from the first task. So then what happens is you may have viewed that property in the first place, but then you never go forward with it because you forget to do the other steps because you get distracted by the other opportunities that are coming in at the same time. That's something that I really struggle with. I struggle with a lot, and it's exhausting. It's exhausting as well because I'm running flat out, and it leads to burnout in essence. And then you never actually complete the tasks. Not necessarily one either. You never get something over the line because of it. How do you deal with that? How do you stop that from happening?
I don't. I embrace it.
You embrace it?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
So I structure my. This might sound counterintuitive now, but I structure my day around the chaos. So it's easier for me to structure the chaos than it is for me to eradicate it. And what that looks like is I'll have. I don't know if you've ever seen my my alarms on my phone. So I have alarms throughout the day on my phone, and every alarm will be an action for something else. Yeah. So like 9 o'clock in the morning, it's like obviously I'll be starting the sort of serious part of my work. You know, all the deal analysing, follow up calls and everything I need to do, and I'll do that until 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock, I will take a break. I'll go and take the dogs for a walk. If I've got time to do it. I'll have something to eat, and then at 12 o'clock, I'm back working again, and I'll then continue. But what I'll do now is I won't be doing the same work as I was doing at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'll be doing different work, but it's still work that's going towards making a difference in the business, and it's less pressure work, sort of like in the middle of the day. So it gives me a bit of relief, but it's easier tasks for me to sort of undertake. So I don't feel like the burnout is like, too sort of intense at that point of the day. And then what I'll do is I'll take another sort of break, normally about half an hour, around about 1:30, 2 o'clock. And then I'll read for half an hour. So I'll get my Kindle out and I'll, like if there's a book that we're reading, like at the moment I'm reading The Richest Man in Babylon. And
wow.
it's an amazing book, and I can't put it down. Like every time that I'm working, I'm thinking, oh, I can't wait for 1:30 to roll around so I can read another read another half an hour of the book. It's fantastic book. But yeah, I mean, my day is basically structured out like that because I find that embracing the chaos, right, and I'll get to how that looks in a second, is the most important part because. For me, for my brain to function, I can't change the way it functions. So all I can do is I can change the environment that I allow it to function in. And if I work with it and utilize it as a power and as a strength, then it enables me to actually get loads of stuff done. But it might not look like I'm getting loads of stuff done. So when I say that, I've got an alarm, for example, like at 9 a.m, I'll be doing like deal selling, like analysis. I'll be doing follow-up calls or making phone calls. I will be leads, doing sort of meta ads and other bits and pieces. Those are like the high cash flow sort of like business stuff, yeah, that generates money for the company. As soon as that alarm goes off and it's time to change task, I stop what I'm doing. Regardless of how far into it I am, regardless of how long I've got left on doing it, I might have 10 minutes left to complete the task that I'm doing. Put it down.
Wow.
Yep, stop doing it. Move to the next thing. That was the hardest thing for me to do.
I can
it
imagine.
was so difficult, so difficult. That learning that as a behaviour was, and it still is. I'm still learning it, yeah. And I still go against the grain sometimes. So sometimes I'm like, nah, stuff it. I'm just gonna finish it. But then what I find is that when I don't listen to the alarms and I don't stop what I'm doing and move on to the next thing, I find that I then drift through the alarms into the next one and then into the next one. And before I know it, I've actually been doing a load of work that's really meant nothing because it's not resulted in anything more than what I'd completed by the time the first alarm went off.
No.
I've just been, going through and finding other things to do, just filling that space. And it's really interesting because I looked at, I saw a study that was done, I think it was Harvard University that had done a study a couple of years ago. And they'd done it on like a really big group of people. Don't quote me on this because I can't remember where this is the ADHD going on here, right? But I can't remember where I got it from. I just remember I got it and I remembered it and I made sure I remembered it. So it was a study that was done on a big group of people. I think it was like thousands, like 10,000 odd like people who work for a company, in lots of different disciplines, in industries across the UK. And what they found was that most people who work, on a 9-to-5 job, they have 2 hours of productive work every single day. There's only 2 hours of their 9-to-5 actually feels productive work where the company is going to be making money out of decisions and actions that have been made by the employee. The rest of it is just filler.
That's interesting.
It's just filler.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So that's why I've structured my days I've actually got 3 hours of work in my days, and then the rest of it's broken up with other things to do. Like for example, taking the dogs for a walk here, right? That'll clear my head. It allows me to sort of breathe, just connect with nature, go for a walk in the woods or whatever. It calms me down. Reading a book, I'm educating myself, I'm learning new things. So I'm not just sitting on the sofa watching Netflix, I'm doing other things to stimulate my brain.
Yes.
And that's, like we spoke about in the last episode, you might look at that and go, that sounds like a protective behaviour. But that therein lies the internal struggle of how you perceive that, because that for me is the only way that I can actually work properly is if I embrace the chaos and I structure it instead of try and control it.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's something I don't do, to be fair. And what often happens is, as mentioned, I will work flat out and I will work for too long, and then I do myself in, and then I wake up the next day and I feel rubbish because I've burnt myself out. And then the problem is, if you do it continuously for a long time, you either just physically and mentally burn yourself out and you can't function properly, and then it leads to the spiral that we were talking about in the last episode of depression and lack of self-worth and the sleepless nights, etc. And it just goes downhill from there, doesn't it? And it's about focused work is what I've always been told. That focused work time, the 2 hours that you're talking about, for example, is something I still struggle with. Maybe I should take up the alarm system as well.
I've got quite a few people that are doing the same thing as me now.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's at least 15 people now that I know of.
Wow.
That are doing.
There we go.
That have asked me that question. I've showed them my systemization that I use, and they've gone, "Oh, that's genius." And they've gone like, "Oh, can I do that?" And like, they've set their alarms as well, and they've like messaged me. One of them messaged me the other day, and he was like, "Game changer."
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. I'm going to have to start embracing that chaos then, I know. So, but that leads me on to another question. Like, what do you do on a bad day?
On a bad day?
Yeah, so if you're feeling rubbish, you've been out late last night, you've been networking, for example, you're feeling grim because you're ill or something like that. I mean, does your routine change?
I think it's important to keep the routine regardless of how you feel, and not to beat yourself up when you don't meet the quota. So quite often I'll find myself feeling like it's almost like I get FOMO. Yeah. That's the fear of missing out. I'm falling behind, you know, and that's how like my anxiety manifests in business, like in work, and for me it can be paralyzing because you look at everyone else around you and they're doing this, they're doing that, they're and then what are you doing? Well, what did I accomplish today? So a bad day for me is really where I give myself a break. And I know that sounds a bit sort of objective, like, it doesn't sound like you have a bad day. I do have bad days, and I don't get a lot done, but I'm kind to myself on those days because I understand that some days you just don't have it in you, and we're not robots. We can't just operate on a level like of high functioning level that and remain consistent, because like you say, the fear of burning out. That's why, say, structuring it like that, I have infinitely less bad days with the structure that I've got now than I did before, where I was just like, it was chaos and I was along for the ride. I was just a passenger. That was like, feeling like a passenger in the chaos is it's disorientated, and you feel lost. You just don't know what's right, what's wrong, what's up, what's down. So getting to understand that it's all about small actions and small wins every day. They compound over days, months, weeks, and years to result in to have big results. So you might feel like you didn't get much done today, but did you accomplish something today? Well, yeah, I did, but I only accomplished this. I spoke to like 10 landlords today. Okay, right, well, that's a win. Take it. You spoke to 10 landlords today. Fine. You systemize something today. You analyze the deal, like 5 or 6 deals, or one deal today. Yeah, I submitted one deal. Whatever. You're not gonna get to the end quickly. This isn't about who's going to get there fastest. It's who's going to remain. It's almost like trying out for the SAS.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
I mean, the percentage that actually get through is very, very, very small. I mean, or you can equate it in the same sense to like the US Navy, like the special forces in the Navy, like where they have to do like the underwater sort of like testing and things like that, and all the training. It's brutal. It's brutal. So it's only a very small amount of people actually get there. So if you're trying to run the race and sprint to the end, you're going to run out of gas halfway before the finish line. And everyone else who's been pacing themselves, they're just going to come flying past you.
Yeah, definitely. That is that kind of sums up the story of my life, I suppose. Where I go flat out, I burn out. I go flat out, I burn out. And the problem is, when you're in that burnout, all you want to do is get back to where you were. So it becomes difficult to regulate, because you then feel in a hurry to kind of recover and get back up to pace. And this is this is something that I've had to work on big time to try and level out, because I've never felt satisfied with what I've achieved in the day. I've never felt like it was enough. I've never felt like it was enough to satisfy myself, and then I'd be worried that other people would think that I hadn't worked hard enough, for example. So that kind of relates to what we've talked about previously with the judgment of other people. So, like, for yourself, I mean, did you always have that structure in place with any previous work that you've done, or is that something that you've developed as you've started the business?
So, my old boss, he was a really good mentor. I'll be honest with you, and he had, like, I had so much time for him because he was always so organised, like unbelievably organised, and he would just have everything systemised. And so when I sort of became when I started moving up the ranks in the company I used to work for, I realised that if I was going to be successful at this, then I would need to be like him. So I just sort of shadowed him a bit, and I was like, so how do you do this and how do you do that? And he was telling me and explaining this, that, and the other, and I was like, okay, makes sense, and it's all common sense stuff. Yeah. But it was all about systemizing your day, if that makes sense. Yeah. You're trying to systemize your day and make it structured. Like having, when emails come through, like from a particular client, make sure you put all those emails into a separate folder from that particular client, and just organizing things, organize everything, because organization really is the key to to success, as far as I'm concerned.
We've all experienced the 4,100 unopened emails, haven't we? In
Well,
our inbox.
yeah. I mean, I hate if we check mine now. I think I've got about 10,000 unopened emails, but I've also got quite a few accounts and email accounts, and not all of them are ones that I use. I've had the same email address since I was at school. One of them. Do you know what I mean? So there's loads.
Yeah.
But you know, that doesn't bother me though. Like me seeing like 10,000 unopened emails, even though I also suffer from obsessive compulsive disorder as well, but because with with Tourette's, you kind of get gifted a package. You don't just get Tourette's.
You lucky man.
I know. It's like someone bringing me a Fortman Mason like Christmas hamper. Do you know what I mean? It's just some different cheese in there. You get gifted a package. So with my Tourette's, it comes with like ADHD, ADD as well. So I get the different types of ADHD as well. So like my high functioning ADHD brain, and then I get the less functioning side of things as well. So sometimes they battle against each other. And then obsessive compulsive disorder as well, OCD. And the obsessive compulsive side of things, it needs structure. It wants structure. It wants repeated patterns. It wants, things that are recognised as normal. Yeah. And like I used to have tics, like some of my motor tics. Yeah. For example, I would like hit my leg. I would have to hit it again because it's an even number. That was the side of my obsessive compulsive disorder when it comes to like Tourette's, or if I like flicked a light switch on or something, I'd have to flick it off and flick it on again or something. Do you know what I mean? It really sort of played in, and again I kind of utilise that. I feel like it's like a superpower, because I can obsess over something, and if I can utilise that against my high functioning side of my ADHD, and then put that into a process where I've got my day sort of like planned out with my alarms, then it's like a superpower. And on the days that it works, you talk about the bad days. Well, what does a good day look like? A good day is like, I've just crush it. Absolutely crush the day.
Really good, yeah.
And you get that feeling of like that accomplishment, and then that follows, like you get like a happy, elated feeling from that sense of accomplishment. And I always find on those days that you feel like you've crushed it, you relax so much better in the evening. You go to sleep better, everything feels better. So I'm not saying I can do that every day, because I can't. But there are days where I can do it. And that's why people look at me and they go, you've got things wrong with you. And okay, fine.
Yeah,
I've got things wrong with me, right? We know that now, right?
We've all got stuff wrong with us.
We've all got stuff.
Everyone's got problems.
Like you say, there's no such thing as normal.
No.
But they look at it and go, you've got something wrong with you. And I sort of look at it and I go, I've got something that you don't have.
That's amazing.
So I use it as a superpower. I utilise it as much as I can. That's what I say. I embrace the chaos.
See, that's really inspirational, and that's great. Yeah, the system is there, and it tells you that you should conform to this structure.
Yeah. And
that is not what people need. I'm not going to say should do, because it's at the end of the day, it's up to the individual, isn't it? But
yeah, of course.
When you have these sets of mental tools and these disabilities, for example, the way I understand it, someone like Richard Branson, who I believe is dyslexic, he's managed to take that toolbox and utilize those tools in the best way that he possibly can. And it's inspirational, because I've never met him. I don't know much about him, but I imagine at school he struggled if he had dyslexia, for example. So I don't know much about dyslexia. That's something I'll have to learn. Maybe we could get a special guest on in the future. So if anyone's out there with dyslexia, we'd love to hear from you. So
well, I know a few people with dyslexia.
Oh, there we go.
We might be able to invite one of them on.
There we go. So it's about utilising those tools that you've got in the best way, and it's something that I'm trying to work on going forward. I haven't grasped it yet, but we're getting better at it. So but by the sounds of it, like you've got a good grasp on it. And I think you mentioned to me before, because you've been dealing with this as from a young age, and you had to go through that process of dealing with the social aspect at school, for example. It's trained you, it's conditioned you to have to learn to use those tools. Whereas for me, for example, because I was very sporadic, I'm not talking about Tourette's, I'm talking about the ADHD, I was always sporadic, and then most people would see the high bit of that when I'm riding the roller coaster and I'm at the top and I'm having a great time and I'm full of energy and I'm going around. They'd never see the low bit. So when I was at the low, and if people did kind of poke the bear with a stick, then they'd get the full brunt of the anger and the snap. I suppose it's not necessarily recognised because they mostly see the high. They don't see the lows. So then when you sit here, and this is kind of what this is about, this is exploring all the bits that you don't see, all the bits behind the scenes, isn't it? When you don't see them negative bits, people kind of expect more from you, and they expect you to be that person who's on the high all the time. And you know this cycle of ADHD as well, don't you? You go up, you come crashing down, and the fact that you've learned to harness that, to me, is so admirable. But having said that, I imagine you get so many days where it doesn't feel like that, and it feels hopeless as well. Because again, we all get that, whether you're parents, whether you're a teenager pushing for a university degree, whether you're an established businessman, looking to retire and sell up their portfolio, you're gonna get that, aren't you? But it's inspirational hearing from people like yourself who are kind of explaining it for me, certainly, who's in that process of that journey as well. But tell me about the days that you're not feeling on top of it, in the sense of, how does that affect you and the productivity going forward?
It affects me like it would affect anyone else, really. I think I'm not too dissimilar, albeit to the people that think I am. Not similar from everyone else. I have my bad days where I just want to sort of just close the curtains on the world and not want to get up and motivate myself to do things. But I believe everyone deserves bad days, and people don't talk about this enough either. Everyone deserves bad days, because bad days in your mind result to failure, and failure is the only way that you're able to see success. You have to fail to be successful. You can't. No one started off doing this and then just rocketed to the top and never came down again. It just doesn't exist. It doesn't matter how much knowledge you've got. It doesn't matter how much training you've done. There's always going to be something back down. So yeah, I do get affected by just by like everyone else does, really. It's just how I deal with it, really. And I think perspective is a really big thing. Trying to maintain a perspective on life, because you've got so many different times in your life where you've got so many different times in your life where you have hardships and troubles and that. But you got to remember, like, we're only here once. Like, we're not here for long. Like, when you think about it in the perspective of the universe and everything else around us, like the majesty of the universe and everything that we know, like, our lives on this planet in that grander perspective is quicker than that. So why would you waste the time that you've got on this earth worrying about things that really don't matter? And this is another thing when we talk about, like, just segueing slightly here into worry, because worry is what you see in bad days as well. So a particularly bad day for me will be a day where I've worried a lot, and I will worry about things that, you know, really don't need to be worried about. And it's not, you know, in the moment you can't tell yourself that not to worry about something. Well, you can, but it's quite difficult to sort of set yourself.
It's pointless, isn't it? In some ways, just going, don't worry.
It is, yeah, it is.
And when someone from the outside goes, don't worry, and you're like, all right.
I wish it was as easy as that. Yeah,
yeah.
But yeah, so like on bad days, I worry a lot, and it was probably about a year ago. It's probably about a year ago now. I started to track my worries.
Did you?
Yeah, mentally, I started to track my worries.
Did you write these down?
I wrote down my big worries. Yeah, as they were coming to, like, as the initial thought was sort of happening, and I was like, right, write that down. Just put it in the notes in my phone. And what I found is that over a year, I think I had there was 20 big worries that I had written down. I didn't write them all down, otherwise I wouldn't have enough space on my phone. But I just wrote down the big ones, like financial pressures.
I was going to say, can you give us an example of these?
Like financial pressures.
I'll give you some of mine.
Yeah, like death. Death was, it's a worry that I think we all worry about, because you don't know how long your time is on this earth. You don't know what's going to happen. So sometimes that sort of worries, those creep in as well. Like family issues, like worries on family issues and that. And then it was probably about, I don't know, it was probably about 10 months to close to a year after I'd started doing that, so fairly recently. I found it in my phone, and I hadn't updated it in a while. I think it had been a few months since I updated it, and I looked at it, and I scrolled down to like the worries that I'd started to populate early on, and I was like, well, that never happened. That never happened. That never happened. That never happened.
Wow.
That never happened.
Yeah.
So what I realised was that I was worrying about things that were never really going to come to fruition. And that takes up, people don't talk about this either as well, it takes up so much mental capacity, so much space. And not only, worries one of the only emotions that you can have a lot of, that basically hardly ever result in anything, but also cause other effects like depression and anxiety. They sort of tend to sort of come together with worry for some reason.
They do, yeah.
When you really worry about something, you become anxious. You get that tight feeling in your chest. You can't sleep at night. And if you looked at it over a year, like I've done, and you go, okay, well, only one of those things actually happened. And to be honest with you, even though that did happen, what were the effects of that? What was the result? What was the bad, negative things that happened? Not really a lot, if I'm honest with you.
No, we're still here, aren't we?
Yeah, well, exactly that. We're still breathing the same air.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it made me realise. And again, this is all very sort of new. I've never spoken about this either. These are all things that just happen up here.
We've never spoken about this either.
No. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean to anyone. I've never told that story to anyone. But I feel like it's an important story, because I feel like, other people listening to this and yourself and that would I think it's very relatable.
Definitely.
If you were to think back now on a worry that you might have had, like, a couple of years ago or something, that was big or whatever, like, could you look back at something and go, yeah, I was worried about that actually for quite a long time, and then be able to tell me that nothing actually ever come of it?
No, I feel it. One of my biggest procrastination issues, I suppose, in some ways, worrying about things that I don't need to be worrying about right now. It takes up so much brain capacity, and one thing that I'm dealing with at the minute is brain fog. And I'm not able to take information in maybe that's just me being harsh on myself. I don't know, but for me, I do find it difficult taking in the information because it just doesn't feel like my brain can handle anymore. And I do feel like because I'm trying to juggle quite a few things at the minute, like I'm worrying about things that don't need to be worried about because I'm constantly, and I've done this for a very long time as well. When I was renovating my house a few years ago, for example, I would try and plan out my week to be as efficient as I possibly can because I've always wanted efficiency, and it's always just been I've been like, right, I've got to use my time because I'm running out of time. I can't explain where that feeling came from that I'm running out of time, but I noticed it started happening after I had my motorbike crash that we've talked about in previous episodes. So that was when I was 23, and since then, I've always worried that I'm running out of time. My body's going to fail me. I need to get this done. I need to then. So with the house, for example, I wanted to get it up and running before my first child was born. So I got my little boy. He's 3 now, and I constantly worried that I needed to have everything in place before I became a dad. But the reality is you then become a dad and then you just get on with it, don't you? And
swing it.
Life carries on, and as long as you're being a relatively good parent, then they're fine. So, but I would constantly beat myself up and worry that I hadn't achieved enough to that event would come along and then it would be the end of the world. But the reality is it comes along and then it goes, and suddenly you're like, oh, okay, well, I'm still sitting here and I'm fine. And I think a lot of that stemmed from me worrying about the physicality that my body was just going to fail because of my spinal issues and my pelvis and whatnot. But then that causes this mental cycle, which then makes all the problems worse. Like you say, because it's taking up that capacity, and then you can't sleep because of it, because I get to the end of the day and I'm still like, oh, I haven't done enough in the day. I'm going to like fail, and failure is something that I've always been scared of. And again, we've talked about it in previous episodes. You have to fail when you're in business in order to learn and grow as a person. But I'd never see that. So then it would mean that I wouldn't sleep, and the chronic pain would get worse, and the ADHD would get worse, and then the cycle continues, and it just spirals downhill. And then you burn out, and then you reset, and then what happens again? But the reality is, like you're saying, if you focus on the task that's in front of you, and I have to tell myself this a lot now, focus on the task in front of you. Don't worry about that. Deal with that later. The things that don't need to be dealt with right now, deal with it later. Obviously, we have deadlines, we have timelines. People might be saying, yes, but I need to get this property deal over the line completed by next Tuesday. Okay, well, put that in your priority list. But Aunt Bessie's birthday that's coming up in a month's time, don't worry about it, because that can be dealt with in a month's time. But I've never thought like that. So I'm slowly trying to implement that process to prioritize the things that I do. Now, when it comes to you and your systems, for example, do you have like a priority list? Do you, at the start of the day, do you prioritize anything or set goals or anything like that?
Yeah, I've actually got a full, like a proper like spreadsheet with multiple tabs, and like I've got a weekly like quota that I have to hit for certain tasks, like doing so many viewings or speaking to so many agents or going to so many social sort of networking events, and then I'll track that over a month, week by week, and then I'll have like on the final tab you've got like a monthly collection. Did I hit my goals this month or this week? Or so it keeps me honest, and it's the only way that I can keep on track of it as well, because like yourself, I've failed to retain the information and what I'm doing, so I write it down. So if I speak to an agent, I write it down. I put the property address in the spreadsheet as well. I put in details of everything, and then it just stays on there. And that spreadsheet just moves along throughout the whole year. So I can just scroll back to the beginning, like the year, and I can see what I was doing, like where I was going, what was hitting, what wasn't hitting. And whenever I need an update of where I am each month, I just open the spreadsheet, go to the collection tab, and it tells me where I am that month so far, and I know where I need to be. So I know whether I need to up the game or not. But yeah, so that's. I think the systemizing side of things is important, especially for people with ADHD, because for our brains to really understand the concept of a systemized or systemizing something, you need to have like a physical representation of it, like of how it's going to manifest and how you're going to track it. And it's the same. Like for me, I'm not very academic. I've never been very academic, and like I didn't do very well in school. I've tried to do further education after school. Like I tried to do my NEBOSH degree.
Wow, that's full on. That's a full on experience. That is.
It is.
Like a 24-hour exam.
Yeah, I tried really hard to do that. I got through Unit 1, 2. And then got to Unit 3, and it was just, the problem with it was that it was basically like it is in the schooling system. It seems like it's just a memory exercise, and it was just a load of words on a bit of paper that I had to remember, and I had to remember the distinctions between different terminologies that the question would be asking me based on. Whether it be like outline this or explain that, and it would, you'd have to explain it or outline it or whatever, but it would all be very particular and specific to that type of question that you have to answer by.
I was struggling with that big time.
It was like 10,000 pages, like per unit, and you had to read through it all, and you had to do your own research on the side of it as well. And the research on the side of the thing was easy for me. I could do that, not a problem, but I had to retain 10,000 pages of text.
That's crazy, yeah.
Couldn't do it. So like my further education side of things, I tried to do a management leadership degree as well. Although it was a level 7 diploma, I think it was. And, I got started on that, and I just burnt out and gave up. So for me, like that side of things it's not great. I'm not academic in that way. But I learn in different ways. I'm a very practical person. I learn practically. Yeah, so if I can put something together that allows me to, like a spreadsheet, the spreadsheet's not like an academic thing for me. It's like a learning.
Really?
No, it's not.
See, I see it as a bit of an academic thing.
No, not for me.
That's interesting.
Not for me. No, I love a formula. Me, do you know what I mean? Like I love working out the formulas of how it works and how to tie systems together and how to change the formatting of a spreadsheet so that it works better for me. And I love it.
I suppose it is practical, isn't it?
Yeah.
In essence. Us ADHD people, we like practical things, don't we?
And that's it. And that's the high functioning part of my brain that like loves it. So that's how I systemize things, by keeping track of it. And similar to how I kept track of my worries over a year, I encourage you to do the same thing and do that, because that's like, for our brains need positive reinforcement for it to understand, for it to believe. Yeah. So I believe, my brain at least anyway, if I can do something over whatever a period of time, if I can do something and then prove to myself that it worked, then I believe it worked.
Yes.
I can't.
Yeah, the power of mindset and belief is unbelievable, isn't it?
It is.
And that's probably the main failure, isn't it? If you don't think it's special, if you don't think, what did I hear someone say? They said, the grass isn't greener, it's where you water your patch as to how green it's going to be. And that's essentially what you're saying, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I've always thought, the grass is greener, I'll go do that instead. So you go do it, and then you do it for a little bit, it is greener, and then it dies off because you don't nurture it. So then it becomes a brown and crinkly, and then you go, there's green grass over there, I'm going to go and do that one. And then and I've always struggled with nurturing my patch a little bit as well.
That's herd mentality as well, that is.
It is, yeah, I suppose it is, isn't it? Because you follow the trend, and we were talking about social media earlier, weren't we? And social media plays a big part in that as well, doesn't it? Because it's an amazing tool for business, but it also then is used and abused to market and control the herd, I suppose, as well. So
yeah, there's a load of naff out there, isn't there?
yeah, there is, yeah, and it comes. The problem is filtering through the naff and trying to understand what is meaningful and what's not.
Yeah. Like going back to the judgment side of things, like what helps you move when you're feeling judged? Like when you feel like you've been judged by someone, what helps you sort of move, continue moving past that?
It used to be competitiveness, right?
But then you realise you're not very good at anything, so...
Well, yeah, so then I just gave up and just ended up just talking to you on the sofa. just whinging and moaning instead.
That's fine.
No, so for me now, I still see it as, I suppose, competitiveness, but it's not in a I'm going to beat you fashion. It's in a, okay, they've got a good point, possibly. And you know, people that judge will obviously pick out a specific aspect of what you're doing. And a lot of the time, the way I see it now is that we all have perspectives. Negative people will have a negative perspective. They will focus on the negative things only. So if you've got, if you put a post and the first thing that someone says is like, oh yeah, your collar was crooked, and they put that in the comments, and it's got nothing to do with like anything that you're talking about, like property in our case, for example. But you are then surrounded by a lot of other comments who are saying, oh yeah, no, that was great, we understand what you're saying, but they may give constructive criticism too. What I tried to do now, going back to the judgment point, is okay, maybe that guy, he did say, okay, your collar was crooked, but I will next time try to improve on that. Not because I'm necessarily paranoid about it, but it's now, okay, I will use that to try and grow rather than just get paranoid about it, which I used to in the past, because then that would lead to me not wanting to do that again because of that judgment. I'd lose the self-confidence. But what I'm trying to do is basically take, okay, yes, you are negative, but maybe there's a reason for why they're negative. Maybe they're suffering from depression. Maybe they struggle with the motivation to see the positive in other people and then make their own mindset grow because they've got issues going on at home. I've started to see the world differently rather than judging back. You see what I'm saying? So to answer the question, I try to deal with the judgment now from other people as a learning curve. And okay, so why have they said that? Why are they judging me? Where are they coming from, to explore so that I can then grow as well. And then potentially if they say something like maybe like we're doing now, maybe I can help them. Because maybe you'd ask, okay, why do you say that? And then it'll open something in their mind that maybe they haven't thought about before. Okay, maybe I am negative. Maybe, but I used to be really judgmental myself. It's something I always struggled with, big time, because I had a closed mind, because I was too competitive. I was always trying to win, try and be better, try and succeed in the systemized way. And it would lead me to be judgmental too. And it's something now that I look back on and I sort of think like, why were you like that? Like, why did you say those things to people? Why did you judge? I've done it with my own wife, you know, but it comes from a place where you want the best for people, but you're unable to portray it in the correct way, because what I would often do is I would, we'll have to talk about this in another episode, but of how it affects your relationships and things like that. But I would want the best for my family and for my wife, so I would dictate, you should do this, you should do that. I would judge, no, you shouldn't do that. But rather than following that judgmental attitude, what I try to do now is ask the questions. Okay, why do you say that? Why do you feel like that? Why do you not feel like you could achieve that, for example? And hopefully going forward, then that will make relationships better, both with my family and with business going forward, because it applies to business as well, in the sense that if you're judgmental, people aren't going to want to work with you, are they? So if you can understand what people want in a non-judgmental fashion, then it means that you can give them what they need. And I'd say it's something that I've always found difficult. I've always just seen it from one perspective, like I said. So moving forwards, hopefully I can continue to work on that, and then hopefully I can grow. But how do you deal with that judgment, and how do you keep yourself from doing it as well?
Managing the internal stairs.
I suppose. I mean, because
I mean, I'll be honest with you. Like, I try not to give it too much energy, because I feel like the more energy you give it, the more you get of it. So like,
that's a good point. Yeah.
When I tried to sort of think, like, people aren't watching me that closely. Like, people don't really care that much.
See, I've always felt like there's eyes on me.
Yeah,
that's
no.
I've always felt.
I do. I feel like there's eyes on me,
and that's what I'm trying to shake.
Yeah, I do resonate with that as well. I have those feelings that people are watching me, but I just try to think, they're not watching me that closely. Like I said to you earlier, with regards to like posting something on Instagram, a video, like I won't do multiple takes anymore. Yeah, I'll just do it. I'll do it once.
Oh, so that's interesting.
And I'll post it. And like my last video that I posted, I mean, albeit that have we spoken in recent episodes, like I haven't been posting that much on Instagram because of the fear of judgment and stuff like that, how that comes in. But what I have been posting has been just natural. It's just one take, like all the stuff, the post that I put on of me up on stage up in London, talking, the post of me reaching out to investors, they were just one takes. I didn't do multiple takes in front of hundreds of people in a room while I was on stage explaining things. You know what I mean? It had to be natural and fluid. So similar to the conversations we're having now. So that's why I think that these types of conversations are easy, and it's good. It's a good way for you to sort of connect that to those fear of judgments that those worries and that. So yeah, those are the things that I do, and I just try my best not to let the intrusive thoughts creep in, where you get that monkey part of your brain again, sort of speaking to you, and it's saying to you, "Oh, they're thinking bad things about you. They think you're stupid. They think you're stupid." And you're like, "What? Well, why do they think I'm stupid? Oh, well, that video looks pretty stupid to me." And you start overanalyzing it in your own brain.
You do.
So I feel like a lot of the judgment, the seed of the judgment, comes from yourself. It never comes from someone else, because especially unless you've actually had someone come up to you, to your face, and judge you blind face to your face, every other element or feeling of judgment that you feel or think about, the seed starts here.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the reality is there aren't many people that actually come up to your face and do that, are there?
No, and who actually cares?
That's it.
Realistically, who actually cares what you're doing right now?
We're all extremely busy in life, and that goes for everyone.
Yeah.
We've all got our own agendas, and most people don't worry about what we're doing, do they?
No,
unless it benefits them.
No, exactly.
You know?
I don't think about it like that. I just think,
yeah.
well, who cares what I'm doing right now?
No, it is a great point.
No one actually really gives a crap what I'm doing right now. I'm the only person who cares of what I'm doing right now. You know, my family and my friends, my close family and friends, well, not even my close friends, I wouldn't say, but like, you know, like my close family, my immediate family, you know, they obviously care about what I'm doing, but they don't understand it in the way that I care about it.
No.
So I'm the only person who really actually gives a crap about what I'm doing right now. Everyone else is just sort of, you know, on the outside looking in, you know.
That's it. So on that note, to conclude, if you are on the outside and you're looking in right now and you do give a crap about what we're talking about, then please reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you, and tune in for the next episode.
All right, well, that feels like a good place to wrap things up. Like always, if any of what we've talked about today resonated with you, whether it's the ADHD side of things, the bad days, the overthinking, or just the chaos that sometimes comes in with trying to build something, then, like we've said before, these are the reasons we're having these conversations. So if you've got any thoughts on this episode or your own experiences with this stuff, we'd genuinely love to hear from you. You can drop us a comment below or send us a message on Instagram at Mind Over Mortar. And if you're enjoying the podcast so far, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might get something out of it as well. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you in the next episode.